So I'm Dr. Mignon Rogers. I'm a U.S. trained medical doctor. I went to Stanford. I have 20 years of experience practicing medicine. Well, I knew Dr. Naram through a friend of mine, and I had heard a lot of really impressive things from a medical standpoint about the results Dr. Naram was getting. I really couldn't believe it myself, so I wanted to come and see with my own eyes and with my own level of asking questions and understanding problems. I wanted to come and see if it was real. So probably about maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I came and I met Dr. Ram in Irvine, and he was seeing my friend's father. And my friend, I know his father was taking 12 medications at the time for diabetes, for depression, for hypertension, just he had a bad heart. I mean, there's just so many problems. And after about 6 months of treatment, intensive treatment with Dr. Naram, he was down to 2 medicines only. And I just know from a medical perspective that we don't have people who are on 12 medications doing poorly ever come off down to 2 medications. It's very rare. But I had seen a big change in this guy's health. And it was really incredible to me. So I wanted to see exactly what was going on. And so I met Dr. Naram. And that night, we actually had a Marma session. And I just remember that Marma is just touching certain points on your body that relieve blocks. And I watched a lot of people that night have instant results. So get this Marma applied and then have an instant, immediate, and dramatic response. People who hadn't been walking for years were able to stand up and get out of their wheelchairs and start walking. So on his command, Dr. Naram would say, "Now run." And he would, after the Marma, and they would get up and start taking steps. They themselves were ginger, like they were very nervous about taking steps, but on his advice, they took these steps and actually had a life-changing moment right on the spot. I know from my experience that in Western medicine, we don't have anything that can have that kind of dramatic and fast response. I work with a lot of patients who are elderly and debilitated, and I send them to physical therapy, and 6 months later, they're still having the same problem with intensive physical therapy. So I just know that to see someone have that instant of a response, not having the herbs, not having changed their diet, but just with the Marma alone, it really intrigued me, and so I wanted to find out more. And then subsequently over the years, even myself, I came for a Marma session one time in Santa Monica, and it just so happened that I've been self-treating myself for hypertension for years, and so usually it was normal, but on this particular night, I'd been seeing patients. I had my own blood pressure kit. I checked my blood pressure, and it was like 171 over 111. It was really high. I didn't have any symptoms at the time, so I wasn't really thinking it was high. I just checked because they were going to do Marma. And after the Marma session, Dr. Naram had me lay on the floor. He touched certain points like on my head and on my stomach and on my feet. And my blood pressure came down within like 5 minutes to 140 over 90. And I thought that was impressive. I thought, man, that's good. I didn't do anything besides lie on the floor, be skeptical, and then my blood pressure like improved dramatically. But I could tell that he thought it was going to be better than that. And so when I got home, probably about an hour and a half later, I just wanted to check and see what happened, if it continued to go down or not. And my blood pressure at that point, about an hour and a half after I had the treatment, was 95 over 44. Yeah, it was really, my jaw dropped too. So I could not believe it. And for the rest of that week, I didn't change my nutrition. I didn't take any herbs. I was very stubborn, but I just wanted to, as a scientist, see what is the power of this Marma. And for the whole entire week, it stayed between 95 and 116. So that really was incredible. So not only had I seen Dr. Ram do these things with other people who I didn't really know extensively their health history, but for myself, for me to respond, and I know my blood pressure started going up when I started medical school. So when I was 25, and I shouldn't have said the age anyways, so 20 years later, it was really high. And every year I'd been increasing my medication and, just kind of treating it with nutrition and, trying to do some stress relief things. But just instantly, Dr. Naram had my blood pressure down to normal. Fast forward to like 3 years later, this year, I'm not quite sure why, but I started having a hypertensive crisis. I wasn't feeling stressed out. Nothing really terrible had happened, but my body is just, I guess, the impact of not eating right and just the day-to-day stress, I mean, doctors have quite a bit of stress, had its toll on me. And this year, my blood pressure went up to like 230, 250 over 110 to 120. So it was extremely high. And the reason why I found out was because I was having intractable headaches. So I was getting this really bad headache and nothing would stop this headache. I was laying down, I really thought I was going to die. My headache was so intense. There was no relief. And he tweaked a formula for me that had my blood pressure down. After I got it, I was excited to get it. Within 2 days, so 2 days later, my blood pressure was normal, and 3 days later, I came off all my blood pressure medicines. So, I mean, that is incredible. That never happens. So in medicine, in Western medicine, when we see people, we don't take away medicines. Generally, if someone has blood pressure, we're adding another one, we add another, we double it, we triple it, we throw in another one, we switch things around. But very rarely do you see someone who's an essential hypertensive person coming off of their medicines as they get older. It's just, and not with exercise, not with any major intervention, but just in 3 days, I didn't have a headache and my blood pressure was normal. So it had gone down to, I believe it was like 115 over like 50, 60, something like that. And since then, on the herbs, I haven't been taking any of these medications for the last 4 months. My blood pressure has stayed between 115, 116, 112, over like 120 over 80. So it'll be like 112 over 60 to 120 over 80, which is, it's beyond normal. I mean, it's fantastic for me. It's dramatic. And I haven't been having those headaches. And probably, so after taking BP Mantra, which is the name of the formula that I was taking, not only did it make my blood pressure come down to normal, but somehow just the tension that really, it's hard to explain, but in your mind, you just feel like you're wound up. There's nothing really necessarily happening, but heaven forbid something do happen. You just got to have a really short fuse for just getting wound up. After taking BP Mantra formula, I just don't have that response to everyday stresses. So I'm able to really just manage my life, and I feel like, everything is going to be okay, everything's working out. I just don't have that.
It's almost going deeper
Yeah,
than just
it's
blood
more than
pressure.
just the blood pressure. No, it's in my head. I feel different. So even if something happens with my kids, I used to really just have a short fuse, just kind of really get excited about, simple things. And now I'm much more grounded. So I feel better in my body. So what if they try the herbs and it doesn't work? There's no detriment. So there's really no reason why people should not try it. And I am coming from a very skeptical place where I wanted to see a lot of people get better first, and I did. So I've been on in several countries with Dr. Naram, on several, states with different people of different orientations. There are people who have been from Scandinavian countries, people from Europe, people from Asia, people from the United States. And every single continent that we've been on, I've seen people get a huge improvement. So it's not, and it's something people have a hard time understanding. It's not magical. I've heard people describe the results as it's like amazing, it's like magic. It's really not. There is a science to it. It's just a very ancient science that we don't have, we haven't heard about. That doesn't make it weird. It just makes it actually very intriguing. But yeah, I've seen some really incredible things that I'd like to follow up with. Even cancers, people who've been given a terminal diagnosis. I myself manage a hospice patient, so I understand how sick they can be in their final months of life. And there have been people who've come to Dr. Ram either, ready for hospice or in the ICU, who really have been given their last, rights by the medical profession, the Western medical profession, that he's been able to dramatically improve their lives, that are living, 7, 14 years later when they were only really supposed to live, either days to months. So it's really amazing. I would tell them that if they're really interested in changing their lives. So I meet people all the time who don't really want to change their lives. They want me to change it as a medical doctor. They want me to do something for them so that it would enable them to continue doing the bad things that are breaking their body down. So that kind of person, it's not for. It's for the person who really wants to actually get better, to really is willing to do a little bit of work to get a great benefit. I would say it's worth giving it a shot. I don't know of one person who's taking these herbs and had a serious side effect. One person who has had any, medicines kill. There are some side effects of certain medications that will kill you. I've never heard anything like that. So if you're willing to take a slight effort in making yourself healthier, then this is the kind of space where you can actually receive a huge potential benefit.